Um, Today, I'm actually going to go over a lot of the organization features that are in the application. And these organization features to manage your users are supported in both the desktop app and the web portal. So let's talk about organizations. In my desktop application here, I am signed in as an account that's a playground account. I've already created an organization itself. And if you see here, I've got a playground account. I named it. I have the ability to also hook up to SAML integration so that I can have my users of my organization sign in with my org's domain controller. There's a little bit of setup to go here. You will need access to make sure that you can verify your account. I'm not going to set that up right now, but it's very simple, and we'll provide the links to the documentation on that. And then let's go over our different features that we have in the organization. So with different levels of your plans here, I can have different features on organizations. Every paid plan is allowed to have roles, and roles, though in a professional plan, are locked down to no access, member, and manager. You'll see here that they are locked and they're in blue. So no access means that you can put somebody in your organization and they don't necessarily need to be licensed. That is the state that they will go into when they first register with your organization, and they won't have access to any devices or networks. And then a member is allowed to have access to see the device list and to see all the services and connect to them. A manager is allowed to not only view and connect, but they can also manage devices, which means they can register new devices, edit the services and device itself, delete them, share and transfer the devices themselves. In addition, with a business plan or an enterprise plan, you get to be able to customize roles. And a role is simply a set of permissions. So I can also delegate the administration of my organization, which includes the tags and members of my organization. And how that gets powerful is that I can also create access based, and all would be access to all devices. Tagged, though, is where we get into the zero trust. So I can add that access is limited to specific tags, and it can be a combination of tags or single tags. It can be a match on any or all. So this would be an or statement, and this would be an all. So if I created a tag and a role, let's see here, this is webinar, and I can create a tagged role, and I can toggle the different switches that they might be able to do. So I'm going to save that there, and you can see I have a lot of different roles. And then if I were to want to manage the users and the roles in the organization, I can go here to my members and add new members based on email addresses and pre-assign a role. Or if they've already been assigned to my organization, simply change their role. And I have a pre-set up user here. Let's see if I can find it. There it is. And I'll go ahead and sign it the webinar role here. And the webinar role, if we look at it, is going to deal with devices or networks that are tagged with demo. And as you can see, it picked up that there's one network and 0 devices that are tagged with this. This is powerful so that you can assign only access to specific services. So for example, if you have support techs and you only want them to have access to HTTP services on IoT devices, or specific admin websites or applications that you might want to give them access to, but not open up to the full world. And let's go here to my user. Let me refresh it. And as you can see, let me finish, let it roll. So this device, I'm signed in as this bstretch@gmail on my browser here. And I don't have any access to any devices, but I do have access to a network. And that network was set up by tagging specific, signing specific services to networks. And in my organization here, I can simply go in and tag specific services, adding them to whatever networks I want to. And services can belong to multiple networks. So it's rather, flexible here. And based on what Robo was showing, you can pre-tag devices as well. So here I've already got just access to the networks, and I'm going to go ahead and make a connection to one of the services that is contained within that network. When I click connect, it's the same thing. However, you'll notice here I'm using a browser, and therefore I'm not actually using a connection between the Remote.iT daemon on my desktop and the target service here, which is the SSH. So I'm actually going through a proxy server here. So that's why the URL looks different. If you want persistent connections or a URL that you can use over and over again, you should use the desktop app or the CLI. These kinds of connections will last for 15 minutes of when there's actually, once there is 15 minutes of inactivity, the connection will stop. Also, it will stop at 8 hours max. So if I look here, one thing I wanted to mention here on connection configuration, you can also change a connection configuration from a URL. And in this case, it's SSH. So most browsers know how to interpret an SSH connection and open the appropriate application. You can also change that to command to open whatever application that you want with the configurations. So I'm going to go ahead and launch this connection. And as you can see now, I'm actually connected to this SSH service. I can run multiple connections to different services here.